Welcome to Independent Comic Characters Wednesday. Sometimes this will be Public Domain Wednesday. But that's what it is. Sometimes we'll do Public Domain characters. Sometimes we'll do Independent Comics. Hopefully you will enjoy. Tonight we're doing a character that was over on Metal's channel, Vomitorium. I think he's still alive, playing Genshin Impact. And, yeah, I was, there, and, let's see, let me share this out on the various social medias. I leave from there. Let's do it on Facebook. Let's take that off. Let's grab that, the link, and let's share this a couple places. Mainly in my server, and then we'll do a couple people on. Well, okay, there we shared it out. Let's see if anybody comes on. We're sharing our screen. There we go. Okay, so let's see. This character is by well, it's from a book called Sprint by Slimy Goo. And Metal suggested the character is from one of his friends, acquaintances, whatever you want to say, from Newgrounds. So yeah, he sent me a couple pictures that I have as whatchamacallit, reference. So hey, Fitzjozo, how are you? Okay, so let's get started. Yeah. Okay, let's move this a little up like that. Okay, not really what I was going for originally for pose, but it'll work. Why do I hear some static? It's got to be coming from my headphones. I guess it's picking it. The mic is picking it up from my headphones. If I get a little too close. Okay, I seem to have gotten rid of it. But then again, that would be. Do you still hear it now? I don't know. It's gone now. Okay. And this guy seems to have a tail, so. Okay, so let's take that out. Let's bring this layer down. So let's see. Let's see. So I don't know whether this character has a regular look, but, well, at least for... Hey, Mike, how are you? Thanks for dropping in to hit the like and share and all that. But if we're gonna make him running, maybe we will put him in the running outfit that I'm seeing on in this one picture. How are you today, Mike? Hey, Crooked Painter, how are you? And if everybody can make sure they're hitting that like button and sharing this out there, would be great. Well, so for those who haven't seen it yet, let me share off the latest picture of the latest page of Snowdrift 2, page 3. I got your book today again. Well, that's good. Well, it's fixed up, so hopefully you. I'm not sure whether you read it yet beforehand, but so here is page 3 of Snowdrift 2. She's talking onto the phone to Rick. I mean, Snowdrift 2, not 3. I'm thinking of Canadian Shield. So here's Rick Arrow talking with her. On the phone. So we see his cabin again, which is nice. Okay, so don't like how that turned out. Let's redo that. I read the misprint edition. The middle 4 pages. Here, let me bring it up. Canadian Shield 3. You know what? So, Canadian Shield. Okay, so in the misprint, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. In the misprint, you'll see this page thing coming. Messenger coming. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then in the misprint, you end up seeing this page. But you should be seeing this page here. Because you have Messenger coming in, they talk, and then the Canadian Shield departs. And then you see him arriving to where the bad guy is, seeing something the bad guy did. They talk for a second or two. And then it's, they come to sort of an impasse, and then wham! Then they start fighting. Where we get this one. Hello. Metal?
Ahoy.
Then we get, yeah, I think, we get this one, then this one, then this one, which puts things out of order. The 4 middle pages are out of order. Just explaining to Crooked Painter the mishap and how it's supposed to go.
Oh, yeah. Where the pages got reordered.
Yeah. We have Man-Child Protective Services and says, if you're reading this, you are probably a man-child. Nope, I'm a man-man. I've grown up.
Yeah, it's a too bad that the PlayStation won't capture Discord, or else I would have just continued streaming and talked to you over Discord, but they don't capture it, so it just sound like I was talking to myself.
Oh, that's what. Can everybody hear Metal? I want to make sure. Yeah, you're supposed to be on. You want to talk for a sec?
Maybe.
Okay.
Do I actually want to?
Probably not. Okay, there we go. But yeah, people can hear you. Crooked Painter says, start working on my villain arc. Well, I don't know about your villain arc, but in Snowdrift number 2, we will be having.
Reason why I'm on is gonna be out to finally eat and drink water. So I'm just guys got about an hour to kill, so whatever.
Yeah, that's all right. Who needs to turn up their mic? Crooked?
Also, I realized how big is Common America, because even on my alt account, which I don't engage with comics at all, I still occasionally see Common America stuff. Like, huh?
Oh,
It's fairly big. But Rick, it's not that we need to turn up our mics. Our volumes are fine. You need to turn up our audio, or turn yourself down. Whatever. You need to balance the audio. We are just super quiet compared to you. Raul was super quiet compared to you yesterday.
put it up a little if you want to talk.
Maybe.
Yeah, but I was asking how popular Common America is. Even my alt Twitter account, which I don't interact with comic stuff at all, I still occasionally see, accidentally just run into Common America stuff, like Common America art and stuff, fan art.
I'm not sure. I think it's getting pretty big, but I could be wrong. Metal said it was pretty big. Crooked, it's too awful for a side of series. But as I was saying to Crooked, for the Snowdrift 2 campaign, There will be a draw-in tier as well, probably a couple of them. So, for couple different places. So, Rick is loud. Yeah. Sometimes I'm loud, sometimes I'm not. How about now? Am I still
Well, usually when you're too quiet, it's actually because your microphone's not in front of you. So at least today we
Yeah.
know your microphone's in front of you.
Yeah. Okay, let's. Yeah. Everybody knows when my microphone's in front. We know when Fitzjoseph is in front of him too. Or on, anyways. Making some sort of noise, we hear everything. So as you can see, I am drawing your friend's character, acquaintance.
Norman, New Jersey. We're very weird site there. Weird thing to say.
You're gonna what? Something about a weird site?
We're a very weird thing to say.
That's not unusual for you, but it's all right.
That's a Norman, New Jersey.
I didn't quite hear what you said. It's Joseph.
I said a Norman, New Jersey is a very weird thing to say.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty normal for his world.
It's not normal. There we go. We need to move that foot over a little bit. Down. I like the foot. Well, the foot's off a bit, but.
Now, I don't want to get this character's name wrong, but I believe he named it after a character from a tabletop campaign that I ran and he was in. But I'm going to go check the original to make sure. I think it's Gordolo. But I want to double check.
Oh, and I only put 4 toes on him. He is supposed to have 5.
Yes, his name is Gordolo.
Thanks for pointing that out, Crooked Painter, that he only had 4 toes. And he was supposed to have 5.
The guy who created this, Gabe, that's the only part of his real name he lets people know, and the rest of his signature, it just has Slimy Goo in quotations, which is his username. Really likes Final Fantasy 14, and in general he likes Final Fantasy. I kept talking up 11, so I got him to play Final Fantasy 11 with me for a while, and actually he ended up playing more 11 than I did because he hadn't played it before, and for me that was like a redo. But he really likes the Taru Taru and the Lalafell. You know, all his characters are always the small people class or race. And when he needed to go make an indie comic for a competition on Newgrounds, he decided that he was basically just going to sort of use the character that he made in our Final Fantasy tabletop campaign that I was running for a group of Newgrounders, who was a Taru Taru. But obviously he needed to make it more of an original character. So he started teasing out this design for a gnome and started crafting this whole little gnome society. And he thought like the cool kind of hook to it is that this guy found a human child and adopted her. And already at like 10 years old or whatever. She's taller than everyone in the village. So the direction that the series is going, because everybody else, for the most part, there's kids her age, kids she grew up with, that likes her because they were all friends as kids, but like all of the adults are very prejudiced against her because like, well, you have a human here. Why do you have a human here? So now they're basically, he fixed up this old human car that he found, and they're taking their way out to the countryside to figure out what else life has for them.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
that sounds interesting.
Oh, it's fun. I highly recommend people read Sprint. I should actually drop. I sent you Sprint 2, which is kind of really Sprint 1. It's the first full story. But I'll drop. Newgrounds links aren't really good on YouTube. YouTube flags him as adult stuff. I'll go get his Global Comics. I'll drop the series Global Comic page for people to read if they want. You okay over there?
No, okay. I'm moving around the house, so to my kitchen.
Oh,
So-
okay. It didn't sound. I'm not sure what the word is.
It sounded like a struggle.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, so
Oh, he did it weird. He didn't make. I'll have to tell Slimy about this. He didn't make Sprint, I think, a series on Global Comics. He made each individual comic a series.
huh. Yeah,
Which I don't know. It doesn't seem like he doesn't know how that works because Firewood is all one series. I don't know what's going on there. I'll ask him. Maybe he has a good reason for it. I don't want to just assume. And that's the link to the first Sprint if people want to click on it. Or oh, you know what? I'm on my wrong account. That link probably didn't even show up.
No,
I'm still in the vomitorium.
Well, if you want to type in the vomitorium thing, I will.
I just like here. I'll elbow cough. You can mod the vomitorium because I'm technically in the studio at the same time, still editing stuff from the post stream.
Okay, vomitorium live is now got mod powers.
Okay. So there's Sprint 1, and I'll also put Sprint 2, since for some reason they need two completely separate links. I don't know why. Slimy. I'll have to yell at him. But yeah.
I looked online. There apparently is no film where that anyone knows of where a woman gets her breast sliced off.
Thank God.
It's because it sounds very. If I ever do it, I'm one of the few people to ever do that. So if we get to that, it's something like Tiger Man or something.
Just came out of nowhere. Blindsided us.
I'm not playing F scenes like that, so.
Well, it doesn't Fitzchoso usually do that? Just blindside us with some sort of thing like that?
Yeah, some just ridiculous statement.
Like that's something we've never seen before ever.
You know, I'm kind of glad I've never seen it before.
You would think you would have seen it in some sort of horror flick, though, or been in some sort of horror flick.
Yeah, I mean, he's asked this before, and the answer I usually give is I haven't seen every indie or low budget horror movie out there. That
Yeah.
nobody has seen every single one. If it does exist, it's probably in one of those.
Yeah, no comic has done this. I don't see no anime will ever do this. So, like, wow. So, like, wow. Well. I guess that's one point I saw something unique. I would do if I ever get around to making Tiger Man stuff.
Hey, Alpha. This is a new show. What do you mean new show?
We're doing indie comic characters on Wednesday. Well, I guess you kind of accidentally already started doing that, and you're just kind of continuing it.
Yeah, well, it's as I said at the beginning, nobody was really here. It's usually, I had thought about doing independent comic characters before for the beginning of the year. So it's either going to be independent comic characters or public domain characters, whichever. I'll go back and forth between the two. And, that's why when I went into your chat and, I said public domain.
Yeah, you asked either.
Yeah. I could have went and found something myself, probably easy, public domain is fairly easy.
Yeah. Well, I do know a lot of different indie comics, so like I probably would be the person to ask if you wanted to include that category.
Yeah. And people can put, again, stuff in the comments afterwards, indie comic characters or whatever. Or public domain characters that they want to see me draw.
So this is lesser known comic characters, kind of like lesser known Bible stories.
I guess.
I mean, at this point, maybe. I don't know. There are some indie comic characters that they would still fall under indie, but they wouldn't be lesser known. But it would
Like
be probably
Hellboy.
cooler to focus on. Yeah. Well, is Hellboy even indie? Because that was done under Dark Horse the entire time. It's creator owned.
Still owned by. Still owned by the guy who made it, Mike Mignola.
Yeah, indie and creator owned aren't the same thing. There's often a big overlap on it. Almost everything that is indie is creator owned. But there's also sometimes indie stuff where you get a license and it's still independently published. So it's not always that case too. There are two different categories that have a large overlap in the Venn diagram.
Sale by Cerberus.
You think about that.
Who?
Cerberus the Aardvark.
Yeah, let me look who actually owns. Like, it's creator owned, but if it was ever indie or if it was only ever done under a publisher.
I think it was done under quote unquote a publisher, but a small gnome publisher, so that would, to me, make it indie. Although,
Well, that would just be small print, Yeah,
well, I consider, quote unquote small print and.
Oh no, it is independent. The publisher is Aardvark Vanaheim, which is a independent comic book publisher founded by the creator of the comic. Wow. So it's a publisher strictly for that comic, and I think one other stuff. It's like there were like two comics that they worked together, and that's why it has that name. But it's pretty much just for Aardvark. So yeah, he qualifies. That's an indie comic. Like, from a very legalistic perspective, it's an indie comic.
Yeah. Well, for me, like I said, I would consider any small press indie in a sense,
I would consider it if it's small press because like in this case, the creator of the comic is the press, right? But there's some small press stuff that, like sometimes Oni Press publishes it, or Antarctic, and it might be creator owned, but it's not necessarily indie. Some of them start indie though.
Like
things
it-
aren't always the same throughout their entire life.
Yeah.
Like it's broadsword. It's broadsword. Small publisher or indie publisher? Because pretty much only what's his name? Ballant. Is it pretty much a broadsword? Pretty much only Ballant. And it's pretty much just for tarot. Tarot. So
I think so. I think the publisher of it is just Jim Ballant Studios, so I would consider that a indie comic, yeah. Like
Yeah,
Rick stuff right
yeah,
now.
obviously
Rick
not
stuff is
going tarot.
definitely in the category of indie, you know. I know
Yeah,
Rick
obviously
would
not-
like to grow it to where Cross Comics is much bigger than what you would call a small press or indie, but it is a small press that only publishes Rick's independent comics.
Yeah. At the moment.
Yeah. Obviously, you would never draw tarot on stream. Obviously,
Heard it? I'd never draw what?
tarot on stream.
Oh, like tarot cards stuff?
No, the character.
I have no idea who the character is.
Witch of the Black Rose by Jim Ballant.
Yeah, it's another Ballant comment.
Well, it's I don't know. So some witch superheroine who bangs monsters.
Oh, so she
In
has
a scandalous outfit.
She has sex with monsters, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, probably not then.
Yeah.
Definitely right about that.
But it's like, talk about things that have changed. You would probably still consider Common America. Common America starts as an indie comic, moves to small press, creator owned. But you would probably still qualify it. Even though it's under like Antarctic.
Alpha said she beats up monsters.
No.
She what?
No. She sleeps with monsters all the time.
Yeah. Well, he didn't hear us at first, and then I
Yeah.
said it, and he's like, "She what? Not a family show."
Yeah, the outfit she's in is basically like a bikini swimsuit. Like that's pretty much all that's being covered.
Yeah, so a little bit like Vampirella.
Yeah.
Well, Vampirella's closer to like a one piece, but yeah, about
I think
the same amount of skin is
Vampirella
showing probably.
But I think Vampirella might be slightly less sexual than Tarot in terms of content.
Oh yeah.
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, in that I agree. I'm just more using the sexual appeal of both characters, shall we say?
In design.
Yeah, in design.
I still find
comparing it, I think Vampirella is slightly more clothed because she shows a lot of skin, but her outfit is closer to like a one piece bathing suit than anything, just like with the center open.
Yeah. Oh, that I can agree with. That she's definitely more clothed, but she's, shall we say, scantily clad?
She is definitely scantily clad.
I still find it strange that Comic Thanos and Evil Ernie basically have the same backstory. You probably don't know who Evil Ernie is.
Yeah, the audience, you will have to excuse Fizz. He just non sequiturs all the time and can't stick to a single subject.
Evil Ernie is.
It doesn't even
Evil
flow
Ernie was a comic book made back in the early '90s. That's what Lady Death first showed up in.
Yeah.
It's about Evil Ernie's about this guy, a teenage boy who was a serial killer. Then he becomes a zombie. And then every time he kills somebody, they rise back from dead as a living dead under his control.
Yes, he's the necromancer in that way.
Okay.
And then he wants to kill human, all life on Earth, and all the flayed death to come to Earth and to bone him.
Yeah, it's Brian Pulido.
Well,
Yeah, but most
That's
people don't
also
even know
another
who
character that falls under the independently owned and published. He's
but
like,
most
Lady
people,
Death's been
most
independent for years.
yeah, most people don't even know who Eva Ernie even is. Most people just know Lady Death.
Yeah, it's
I've
just
heard-
because he's old at this point.
So we said,
and probably Lady Death
what do you
is
say,
a
Metal?
little bit more popular.
No, I was saying it's just because Evil Ernie's old at this point.
And I've heard people
'Cause you have to-
mention him a few times.
So like I was actually talking to Marsupial about this like the other day because we were watching Flashcast, and it's probably the first time I watched Flashcast in months, maybe. I don't tune in.
I ain't watched him in years.
But Marsupial, I think he's still a mod on Yellow Flash's channel, so every so often he tunes in, and if he is, I'll watch with him. And it led us to having a conversation about like Comicsgate and the type of people who came in, because there was basically two people who started supporting in Comicsgate. And I always found myself on the what I would call the minority or lesser side of it. There were the people who came in from mainstream comics who were, frustrated with mainstream comics and were trying to like move the needle or whatever. They came in from from watching people complaining about it. And they started getting into the independent comics because the people complaining about it started making independent comics claiming to address the complaints, right? And these people were, for the most part, never actually indie comic supporters, right? They just kind of found themselves in there. Then you have people who, we read mainstream comics, but there's some of us who have probably even been more into independent comics for years. Like I've been more into independent comics for like probably since 2003. I've cared more about independent comics than mainstream stuff, right? For a huge chunk of my life, I've always liked indie works. Probably about the mid to late aughts, I started getting into web comics too, and a bunch of those people started going into self-publishing printed work. So there's a lot of people who came in who already liked indie comics and like, oh, cool. There's some people who are that I watch and stuff that are making some indie comics. I specifically want to support indie comics. One of the difference between that, though, is a lot of the people who came in from mainstream comics were supporting almost for cultural reasons. So they were basically supporting anybody who was Comicsgate, right? And a lot of people got burned from that. And a lot of people who came in who already supported indie comics were fine with supporting creators, but they were specifically looking to support comics that interested them. So like
I was on that latter side of the spectrum.
Yeah, and that's where I was from the very beginning. And technically, I guess I was in Comicsgate before it was called Comicsgate. Like over my podcast that
I still have one of the comics I back from that era. Like
I have a few of them.
I mean,
But like when I was on
was
SoundCloud, I was getting several thousand plays a week, and one of the things I was regularly talking about was the collapse of local comic book stores and stuff, and how the practices in the comic industry is what was killing them. That was back when the Vomitorium was purely a podcast, before I even tried to make it a live show. And so like I would only back specifically books I liked, but didn't mean I wouldn't support. It just meant most of my support was I would talk about other people's books and push them and stuff. But I wouldn't buy a book unless it interested me, because I'm not collecting, I'm reading, I'm enjoying, because that's the type of person I've always been. And it came up because we were just seeing how many people got burnt from backing people who never fulfilled their books.
Because I don't think those people were interested in actually making comics. It was just they were just trying to get internet clout.
I think there was both, but anyways.
Yeah, there's a mix of things.
Yeah. Before we go on with the conversation, Alpha says, I started supporting Comicsgate because I am a prude. Then Comicsgate got all pervy too. And he said, so I stopped following Comicsgate. And Crooked Painter says, "What is Flashcast?" So I'll let you answer that, Metal.
Oh, that's Yellow Flash's like weekend show. Like he does weekly. I think it's not technically weekend, or it depends where you count it, but like Friday night, right? Like he does a cast for that every week. Now, I think he still does other videos and other things in between, but it's like the big premiere talk show where he has his panel and does stuff every week.
Okay, and then Crooked Painter says the problem with comic book cults is they are like 4 chicks total in Comicsgate and just whoa, no thanks.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's more than
I
four.
mostly stopped
technically, but-
following, like, to talk to Alpha there. I pretty much stopped following Comicsgate too. There's individuals who I still follow, but like I've pretty much out of the circles of Comicsgate. I never agreed with it being like a brand or anything. You know, like people even call it a movement. More so, I wasn't cool with people saying I am Comicsgate. Like the hashtag and stuff was cool. The idea of it was cool. I totally agree with that. Some of us, I think it was Nerd Wonder was the first one to actually start using the term Comicsgate. That was back when like before Ethan came in and stuff, when it was mostly a consumer movement. I'm sure like Rick, you were probably already in it at that point, right?
Not when she first,
Or at least
coined
close to it.
close to it. Like I came in through. Well, I'll say Ethan because I was.
Oh, okay.
I was watching him. You know, I was watching his videos. You know, where he was doing actual artwork. And you know, I'm not sure whether he had any live stuff yet. But then Comicsgate started getting mentioned. He mentioned about Zach, I believe, and Jawbreakers. Never got in on that book because it was a little too late on it, I think, hearing about it. The first Jawbreakers. But, you know, then he decided to make his comic and he'd quit DC or was fired, a bit of both, however you want to see it, you know. So that's about when I got into it. And technically I would still consider myself Comicsgate, but I'm not one that I've ever really shouted it from the rooftops. It's just, and that's just because it's what I believe. I believe in what it originally stood for, and to me, that's what it will always be. I know nowadays it's changed a little, you know, for sure.
Yeah.
But I would also.
I think I was also.
I'd also consider myself independent as well, because technically, even if you're Comicsgate, you're independent.
Yeah, and that's how I've always considered myself as independent. Like I technically started doing X Dynamis Chaos stuff, even in comic form, though that Kickstarter was failed. Before, I think Cyberfrog 1, or even like before Jawbreakers came out. Like I was already trying to do the indies thing. Mostly web novel publishing before that.
Now, I would probably say the same with me for Cross Comics. I'm probably not sure whether I had anything quote unquote published before then. Like, I went down in, I forget what year it was, 2015 or 16 or something like that. Probably 16 or maybe 17. I went down to Alpha Omega Con, you know, and I was promoting my book there. But it was the first version, what very rarely anybody has seen. The first version around here. I'd like to get it out and make some copies of it. Just, you know,
Yeah.
for nostalgia for stake. But I had something out there. I was just doing it digitally at that time because I couldn't afford to put it into a comic book, pay for the publishing and all that. And then I found out through Ethan and all that about crowdfunding. So, you know, I was sort of independent, but I didn't even really know about independent comics as we talk about them. Yeah, I knew.
Yeah. Yeah, I think also because I've been into independent stuff for a long time, and I've always wanted to be independent. Like, even if people didn't really see much of my stuff or whatever, I've been doing independent works variously since like the aughts when I was still in school. I think I was primed to just stop caring. Like Alpha even just brought it up. Wasn't the original goal of Comicsgate to convince Marvel and DC to cater to their paying customers and not the modern audience? But then it was all abandoned, the big comic companies to support indie. My thing was like, I was already ready to abandon them. Like, Move the Needle was cool. I was buying some things that were good, at the time, the few things that were, because I did still want to like some of these characters that I grew up liking. But I was also prepared that if that didn't work, to just like abandon it and just
Another
only
thing,
focus on indie because I had been for a while anyway. But I wasn't willing to abandon it for a circus, like a new bread and circus circle jerk, which is what CG kind of became. I was like, no, just find independent
the
creators
reason
you like,
the reason I came into Comicsgate was I had a bunch of comic ideas I want to make on there because I've been fantasizing about creating my own comic series since I was like 13, son. When I found out about CG, I was gonna get involved with that so I could get some money actually making projects happen in reality.
Yeah, I'm probably close to that too. Since I was about 13, 14, trying to make cross comics a thing. And now it's sort of a thing.
since elementary school.
But yeah, but that didn't go so well, especially considering the character I try to start with. But even was this Goofanoid? But even if I chose a more marketable character, I don't think I really have characters that are marketable. I don't have female characters with large breasts. So
That doesn't
That
matter.
doesn't matter. It just depends how you sell it.
Look at mine. My main character is the Canadian Shield. He's an 8-foot Native American Indian. Not that you know by looking at him in this costume. And everybody loves him. So it doesn't matter about what the character
I would attack
looks.
that from the other direction, Rick, right? The other direction is, even though you see a lot of comics that sell with like very voluptuous women, there are even more comics with voluptuous women that don't sell at all. At the end of the day, it is the marketing that matters and
Yeah.
you convincing the people. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of people that just want like really like awesome heroes, that
Yeah.
are strong, and you just have to market to the right people.
And,
Figure out what you want to do,
heck,
figure out the audience, find it, market to them.
look at Marvel and DC's main
because
characters. Superman, Batman, Spider-Woman, Wolverine. All guys.
my one want to say is that, like, this entire world universe I'm trying to build is based entirely on two characters, but basically Goofanoid and Doofus. That so both, yeah, but the thing,
Yeah, well,
then
even the fact that if there's a bit of a doofus, like, I know it's not quite the same as Goofanoid, but look at Deadpool. Look at how popular he is. He's very wacky. Heck, he goes on killing sprees, too.
but Goofanoid doesn't go on killing sprees.
Okay,
But I don't plan for that to happen.
maybe I'm your Tiger Man. I think I'm confusing him with him.
Mixing them up.
Yeah.
Alpha Proto says, I see YouTube videos talking about how Marvel and DC are good now, but I don't think so. The characters have been altered so much since 2010 that there's no turning back with them. I'll push even further. I think they've been altered since the mid-aughts, right?
Since Civil War.
I think Civil War is what killed Marvel, and it has not recovered since. It's just
Like, how
around
many times-
2012, 11 or 12-ish, where the Marvel versus X-Men, or was it not Marvel? X-Men versus Avengers was kind of like the tipping point versus it. Where they kind of allowed them to start doing that type of rhetoric. But it's so for the last decade, they've been able to push harder and do the things, but they destroyed the characters back in Civil War. They were not acting the way they were just before that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that well, part of it is the how many times you gonna do Iron Man? Tony Stark loses his money, then has to build himself back up again, and to fight to fight the bad guy. How many times you gonna do this?
yeah.
Like how many times you gonna have Steve Rogers lose faith in America while fighting some terrorist group? Like then has to fight some terrorist group. Like how many times you gonna do the same storyline again?
As many as
Like,
they
I
think
guess
they need to keep you
because they did that a lot for the past 10 years,
Yeah.
past decade or so. Let's just keep doing that.
My condolences, Alpha. His intro to collecting Marvel, which I think the first Marvel comics I collected were probably in the late aughts. It might have even been Avengers versus X-Men, but I've been reading them way before that. Library collections, and also I learned how to pirate pretty early. But Bendis was his intro, and I don't know if I could give anybody more of a condolence than that. Because I don't think Bendis has ever made a good Marvel comic in his career.
Yeah, I mean, I tried reading Alias, and that was just that was kind of bad. That was a pretty bad experience.
Well, I think the original Ultimate line was pretty good, and he was on that.
I detest the entire Ultimate line.
Wait. The Ultimate Marvel made Hank Pym a guy who a sadistic monster who tortures his wife. So
yeah, but they were just playing on something that was in the comics long before that.
That was one panel of him slapping Janet Van Dyne.
Yeah,
while he's having a mental breakdown. But they made that that one panel his entire character in Ultimate Marvel.
And when it came to the big strong characters, right, like the menacing, monstrous looking ones, like
they made them all cannibals.
Green Goblins. Yeah, cannibalism was the first thing they went to every time.
They're all cannibals.
Yeah,
the Ultimate, they were just edgy for the sake of being edgy, and I guess some people really like that. To me, it just didn't feel like Marvel at all.
Yeah, well,
it felt like somebody was doing a parody of Marvel.
Maybe not so much, them, the Ultimate, but I like the Spider-Man and the X-Men of it. Sort of the reimagining of the X-Men forming, later with a whole bunch of other characters, instead of the original 5. And I like how they told, the Spider-Man's origin over a few issues. I know probably a lot of people don't, and hey, that's power to you. Maybe the Ultimate stuff was a little wacky, for sure.
No, Crooked Painter says Deadpool's played out and annoying now. I mostly agree.
Also,
I go back. I like Deadpool, but it's just nobody's doing anything interesting with him. He's just kind of there to be a cornball now.
Yeah.
Anyways, also Ultimate Deadpool wasn't Deadpool. It was literally a cyborg who hated mutants and had some reality show about hating mutants. So it wasn't even Deadpool. It was basically what's that character who's the I forgot his name. What's that character who's the son the son of Mystique back in the day? I forgot.
Oh, Nightcrawler?
No, not him. The other guy, the one who's normal human.
Oh, I think you're talking. What's his name? He was part of Humanity or something. People for Humanity or whatever. I forget.
Was it Creed? Was it Great in Creed?
Yeah, I think so.
Or are you think of the other one?
Yeah. It's much close. Yeah, but the Deadpool wasn't Deadpool. It's a cyborg hates mutants and has a reality TV show like that. That's not. Wait, what was that have to do with Deadpool? That doesn't even make any sense.
Probably just because Deadpool's not supposed to make any sense.
I don't know. I'm talking about in the context of Ultimate, it's not even the same character or similar.
Yeah.
But I think
Well, in the ultimate universe, they just wanted to mix things up a lot.
Yeah, they did a lot. Like we're gonna,
like
it's all like Asgardian tech, but it's like now we're gonna make Thor basically a
scientific
tech-based character by giving him an
because
arsenal of different Asgardian
because they couldn't
weapons.
have magic in the Ultimate Universe somehow. It's that some for some reason. Try to make all try to make all the Asgardians scientific.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
But
Well-
they were like, as we were saying, just trying to shift things up, right? They were trying to basically make a new Marvel for a new audience, and it did work for a while. You know, there was a lot of people who just weren't that attached to the old stuff. A lot of people who were my age, but they didn't read collections of old comics when they were younger, so this is like the first stuff they were getting into, and they're like, "Yeah, look at this cool stuff," you know, like this is stuff that had to
No, that,
compete against like Shonen Jump, you know, like they had to do something, I guess.
those heroes kind of barely heroic. Like I don't think those were even good people. Like this kind of whatever.
Yeah, well, like I
Like
said, for the main reason I liked it, it was a little different offshoot. It was like a what if, and
It
part
was
of
a
it
what if
were,
that lasted too long.
it's and maybe took two. Spider-Man worked for it. That was the first one they brought out. Oh, it worked for Spider-Man. Let's do more in this universe for it. That was their idea, I think. And then they decided to go real crazy, as we were saying.
They made Iron Man. They had some Iron Man guy. He's had this virus in his system that caused his brain to grow to the surface of his inside of his skin, and he had to, and also not feel pain. He had to have this like nano armor, like this microscopic nano machine armor that was blue, covering his body all the time.
Yeah, I think so.
Eventually, and then eventually he got to be normal skin complexion.
Oh, let's see. Alpha was saying, I was a big fan of Deadpool. They ruined him. His entire point was he was a villain who didn't want to be a villain anymore, but his nature was to do evil stuff, so he would always screw things up. Then he redacted the message. I'm not sure what it said. I sort of read it before, but I forget. So when new writers got him, they tried to make him into an anti-hero instead of an anti-villain. He broke. But I was going to say earlier, when DC, what messed up DC, you were saying Civil War for Marvel. I'd say Rebirth and New 52.
Well, yeah, but if you remember the time just before New 52, which also had some of the coolest stories in New Earth, but it has most of the lamest stuff. Like they had gotten so bad in like the like mid-aughts that they kind of needed to do something. Maybe they should have done a soft reset instead of a hard one. And I think maybe most people could probably agree on that. But they needed to do some type of reset.
Yeah, because of like cry for justice, all that nonsense. Um, Arsenal's daughter gets killed because Prometheus, from Prometheus terror attack. It was
Yeah.
Like,
Because I remember being in high school and Buck and I were talking about this at the lunch table, and we were excited for the New 52 up until it actually came out. But like what we were being told about it is like, oh, we're gonna reset. We're gonna start some more fun stories in the cities of the heroes and stuff. We're gonna get down to basics. Yeah, and then we experienced New 52 and realized it wasn't anywhere near as good as we were being promised, but at least at the time, the stuff we were currently reading had gotten so bad that we were excited for something new.
Yeah. Well, and I hate the way with New 52, I think it was. They tried to combine years of storylines into like 5 or 10 years.
Oh, yeah, I do. I hated that. Yeah. That was the big problem.
You know, like
Like the
for-
Robins didn't even make sense anymore.
Yeah, and Green Lantern as well. The big ones, where it really messed up was Green Lantern and Batman. Superman a little bit, maybe Wonder Woman a little bit, but I don't think they got
Teen
it.
Titans was mangled.
Yeah, again, that got messed up because I don't think even there was a Teen Titans in that universe till Damian formed it. You know, meanwhile, you know, the original Dick Grayson was supposed to, well, Dick Grayson and all the original sidekicks were supposed to have formed it. So, which made, you know,
Yeah.
which I don't think you you didn't have Speedy really then, and you didn't have
Yeah, they made Wally Black, like as Wallace, this new black guy, and yeah, the black Wally Black. Then is written as a entirely different character.
Yeah. Well, and there's something too. They didn't have Kid Flash when Dick Grayson was Robin. You know, they didn't have Wonder Girl. I don't think existed either. None of the other sidekicks that were around at the same time as Dick Grayson Robin were around. So they couldn't even form the Teen Titans.
Yeah, massive continuity errors like that.
So, you know, that's what really, you know, threw me off of the New 52 or Rebirth. Well, Rebirth happened, I think, because of New 52, because they tried to.
That's 5 years later.
Yeah, but they just tried to soft reboot what they did to, you know, correct their.
Yeah, it's still technically the same continuity as New 52.
But I was enjoying some.
Weird.
That's what they should have done instead of New 52. It's just soft reset, like New Earth instead.
Yeah, I was actually enjoying some of the things, storylines that they had. Like Superman like was doing a walkabout, you know, throughout the U.S. You know, to get back to the people, if you will. You know, the heart of the people or whatever. Forget how.
There's some good stuff in New 52 in general, though. Like Animal Man was really good, but it was stuff that most people weren't reading.
Yeah, I read Animal Man. I got that. I think that's about the only thing that I liked that came out of the New 52. Maybe more. I'm not sure, but the green, the red, the gray.
Yeah, like Swamp Thing and stuff. Like all that stuff was good.
You know,
which was like the whole point, right? That was what Grant Morrison's like framework of the cosmology, and it was really only being played with in those stories.
And now they've
Speed Force.
They've slowly expanded on that and added more, like the blue for water. But yeah,
I thought they called the water one the clear.
The clear.
Okay, I thought it was the blue. I haven't been following it. I thought that's what I heard it was.
It's okay. It's been a long time too. That's why, like, I was saying, I thought they called it that. I'm like trying to make sure my memory wasn't wrong. That's the thing. Like, I'm talking about trying to make sure my memory's not wrong. I'm just so disconnected. Like, I think I've reached the point. I can still enjoy the old stuff. I haven't become apathetic to going back and enjoying the old stuff that was good. Right?
Yeah.
But I think I've just become apathetic to both Marvel and DC. Like, I just don't really care what they want to do going forward.
Yeah, same. I'm more right now invested in my own universe. You know, I'm not really.
Yeah, and like for stuff outside of my stuff, I'm just more interested in what like creator-owned stuff is going on. I want to know what that artist thinks, because we're all just so divorced from the original creators of these stories now, right? And I think that's one of the reasons they've gotten to where they are, because it got away from a point of shadowing an apprenticeship where somebody would have a run for a while and then maybe somebody else would, like a new person would come in as their pencil or whatever, and they would learn the characters while working on it, and then maybe they'd be bumped up to the inker eventually. Like we're so far divorced from that that people just do whatever they want with the characters.
Yeah, well, it's also
Mm.
because everybody wants to make their mark on the character. Well,
Yeah.
Because they're not,
make your
because
marks
they're
by
not allowed to
doing
make their own.
good.
Yeah,
Plus, not allowed,
exactly.
they can't really make their own characters but they won't own the rights. They won't get paid properly. So
Well, you'll get a royalty, but they are really, really hesitant. Like, because they have to pay royalties out, the editor has to basically approve you of making a new character, and it's like, good luck.
yeah, and then and because they don't have new characters coming in, we have to just change old characters to fit new roles that they were never meant for.
Yeah, Alpha says, me too. I'm invested into Cross Comics. There's quite a few of us that are invested in ways more than just being readers because we're actually helping Rick work on the stuff.
Is my previous statement true? That because they can't create new characters, they have to change old characters to fit new roles they were never meant for.
In some cases, maybe. I think in a lot of cases, they just don't care, right? Like, it wasn't even about, like, wanting to create new characters. Some of them just they see the character like a toy that you get to just play with however you want.
Yeah, and like I said,
it's going to vary from person to person.
they also want to leave their mark on the character instead
Yeah.
of just doing good art and good stories based on who the character is. Oh, I want to change the character somehow to make my mark. It's like,
Yeah, I want to redefine how people see this character. That attitude is there a lot. It's a horrible attitude, but a lot of people do have that.
Yeah. And
Whereas,
that's
like, when you
why.
look at
Okay,
Superman, I don't want you to think about Superman from 50 years ago. I want you to only think about Superman as I'm writing him.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I would never sell my characters to DC or Marvel. That's why. They're probably. Well, unless I can find somebody to take over Cross Comics for when I die. And hopefully I can. And hopefully that's a long time.
no, not me, because I want my stories to just end. The universe just end eventually after like 15 years. Well,
Yeah, I think it's good
I
to
guess
have a
you gotta get
timeline on
started.
most stories, right? Like, it's okay if you started something and then obviously, like, you never know when you're going to pass away. But having a limited scope on some of your stories is pretty good, because I was going to bring up earlier, one of the most disappointing things about following indie comics and stories is that a story will start and then it just, like, never finishes, right? Which I'm sure some
mean-
people feel like that with some of my stuff, though. If you want to know where X Time is Chaos is, you can always read the web novel. It's much further than the comic. But, like, you'll read something that's got 5 issues, and it's building up this grand storyline, and you think it's going to go somewhere, and then it just never does. Well, if you do something that's a little more issue-based, like episodic, that's kind of fine too, because then people aren't necessarily disappointed with the last episode. But if you're, like, building this longer story and it just doesn't go anywhere because either you passed away or maybe you lost interest in making the comic, or, life happened, whatever, you'll find it, and it's like, man, I never got issue 7 of Little Victory. It's never going to be made.
I think I kind of was more invested in my own stuff like 3 years ago. Me and my stuff made, but right now I just focus on some other projects until I can get to make this whole superhero universe thing.
Yeah. And that's all
Because-
right.
Because because no one because even I could get the money get the money to make this. How much money? How many years is it going to take to going to take till people actually get invested in these characters?
Depends.
Because-
I mean, one of it's kind of a roll of the dice, right? On whether people even notice it in the first place. You got to do some level of marketing. Really, is Little Victory a real comic? Yes, it actually is a real comic that I have personally owned. I will respond to that in a bit. But one of it is you have to sell people on your stuff. It's a lot easier to do that when you have a product to sell them, like an actual finished thing. But like, it is up to you to convince people to want to be invested in your stuff. Now, I can tell you what the problem, webcomic wise, as somebody who's done webcomics and knows a lot about it and done a lot of research, on the webcomic front, you typically need 5 chapters worth of comic before people are that interested in it. This may be the nature of how webcomics are free. That has a lot to do with it, though. But a lot of people won't do it until they have like 5 chapters to binge because they want to get invested in whatever they're doing. That is the bulk of the audience. It's a little different when you're actually marketing something, when you're using money people have to pay and you're selling them. You have to get them invested in the character or the story right away, like just right away.
Yeah.
Which means you also have to push a little harder.
Well, I forgot how many times I rewrote the origin of Goofanoid, because people kept complaining about complaining about how this character's not interesting. So I rewrite the script again.
Yeah, but how are
And
they ever
again-
going to know if it's interesting? Like, you're talking to all the wrong people.
Yeah.
The-
The thing is, you can't rewrite it just because somebody says something. You have to stick to your gun sometimes and say, "Oh well, you don't like it. That's your preference or whatever. Not problem solved thing. Maybe you're not the audience for this then, and that's all right.
Yeah.
I'll find my audience. Somebody else will be my audience, and that's you just gotta stick to it. Like how many times have people tried to convince me to change things here on for Cross Comics, Metal?
Yeah, and tons. And the thing is, like, and I completely agree with you, Rick. We've talked about this many times. You can't just listen to anyone who comes into the chat or whatever, or even anyone you have a conversation. First off, you need to build rapport with somebody first, so you have an understanding of each other before you can listen to somebody's criticism on something, right? Like, Rick will listen to me very often because I've worked with Rick a lot, and Rick knows that while I don't understand his characters as well as he understands because they live in his head, I have an editor's mindset and view of it, but I also have a general understanding of his characters.
And if you
Rick
don't
will even
know
ask me
something,
sometimes how. Yeah, I'll ask, and I'll what's it called? I'll interrogate you to figure something out.
yeah.
But like you come to
Yeah,
me
like,
sometimes
I
to know like how should Manly Cougar say this because I know him well enough, and I just have like a better grasp on how maybe different levels of English speaking works. So it's like you trust me to be able to tell you how Manly Cougar would say something.
Yeah.
like
Like
I'm not sure if I told you this, but the original plot, I've long scrapped this, but the original plot of Goofanoid was that there's going to be this white supremacy cult called the Order of Blanket that was worshiping the ghost of this dead Frenchman, and was kidnapping Hispanic people to do a bunch of basically a blood sacrifice in order to create this Superman type thing. That they killed Goofanoid's Hernando Main's parents. He's like 17 start story.
that actually doesn't sound too bad. There's a storyline. It sounds like there's a little Bruce Wayne in there. Batman. Probably a little bit of a bunch of other things too. And there's nothing wrong with that. And
I agree with Alpha. Safest bet is to do a one shot.
yeah. Before we get on to anything else, what's this character's name again? How do you spell it?
Gordolo. Gordolo.
Godolo?
Gordolo, yeah. He was based off of a character he ran in the campaign whose name was Gordolo Dolo. That is not this character's name, but it's because of the naming conventions for Taru characters.
That's a great drawing, yeah, Rick.
Thanks. It's not bad, but Alpha could do it better, and lots of people could do it better.
Sounded better
It's
than
not
me.
about whether you could do it better. It's like, could you do it better?
Well, I'm
Then
sure
you just
eventually
did
I could do it better, but
Yeah, that's the point, right? It's like, where are you progressing?
yeah. Alpha says that is a good origin, Fizz. Built in the villain group.
but I'm no longer having them as the main antagonists anymore. Since I said I'd rather focus on his regular Rose Gallery. So the main antagonist now is Professor Payne and stuff connected to him.
Yeah, but that you know what? That is something that you could probably come back to in the comic if you go long enough for it.
Mm,
That arc, shall we say?
okay. There's gonna be but currently there's this organization called the Painmakers who are these torture technicians for hire who are hired by different gangs and cartels, and that's run by Professor Payne. And they're all like sadomasochists and stuff.
Alpha says the big problem with new characters is they have no real villains. They beat up thugs. If you have an evil organization creating the villains of the week, that keeps things fresh. Also, the overarching goal would be to overthrow the organization.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It
yeah.
also all depends on what type of story you want to tell. But this was another thing, like you were talking about people telling you to change or whatever. It's like being careful who you listen to. It goes back to the thing I was saying before, where like in Comicsgate, there were two different types of people who were coming in to support the indie comics. People who maybe like a variety of stories, maybe just like, they were already supporting indie comics, and then people who were supporting the comics because they were trying to have an alternative to Marvel and DC. A lot of those people really just want Marvel and DC comics, but not from Marvel and DC. And those are absolutely not the people you should necessarily be listening to.
I know that now.
They're a decent money, like they'll support your product if it fits what they want, but they're not necessarily interested in your artistic vision.
Yeah, I know that now because like some of the rewrites try to make this character cool just seem dumb as hell. When I mentioned the earlier, like somebody rewrote the character to give him cartoon physics as a superpower. But the thing is, if you do anything, it was funny at the moment. So there's no way I can write that. There's no way I can write that to have conflict.
Yeah.
Like that's not.
And well, one thing that I think of is like when I first created the Canadian Shield, his suit looked a lot different. He was a lot smaller, and nobody told me to redo him either. I'll tell that right from the beginning.
Excuse me. Wait, hold on.
Oh, he ran off.
Yeah, okay, he'll be back in a sec. I'll finish that point later.
Yeah.
Well, and I've told this before. When he was first created, he was supposed to be a big burly biker type guy, just traveling across the country on a motorcycle. I didn't really have his powers defined or whatever, and for some reason I changed it. I don't know exactly what. I think
Could you still do that with another character?
I'm back.
Possibly.
Because that sounds like a fun comic, Rick.
Yeah. But as I was saying, it's chosen when I first created the Canadian Shield, and nobody got me to change it. I decided to change it on my own for I can't remember what reason. But the Canadian Shield was supposed to be a big burly biker type guy going across the countryside of Canada, fighting crime or whatever on a motorcycle. So I have no, like I said, and it can't be Rick Arrow Alpha. Rick Arrow is not big and burly. It was.
No, you just make a new character, somebody who's kind of like the old version, but he's just a brand new character.
Yeah. Somebody has suggested, it's just somebody who's trying to copy the Canadian Shield in a sense. So, technically, maybe that could be my buckler. Although
it could be. That would change a lot of what you'd planned, but it'd be interesting.
Yeah, and I could always, heck, why not two guys named Buckler? I know it'd be confusing, but or that would be the Canadian Buckler, not the Buckler. But yeah, but then for whatever reason, I think it might have done with Archie's character, the Shield, when Impact Comics came out when DC was redoing them. That might have influenced me a little bit to change the Shield, I think, but I'm not 100% sure. So, yeah. And then Alpha said a few minutes ago, when you choose the end of a series, that would be the payoff for the readers. But yeah, so yeah, it was a great idea, definitely at the time, as Metal was saying, but the idea changed in my head for whatever reason, so it's all right to change your idea based on whatever, but you got to make sure it's something that you want to do. You can't do it just because somebody says something. And I don't think you're around for this, but last year, for a bit of a portion, well, maybe it was in 2024 too. But there was a guy that was in my chat, Elk, and he tried to edit me from the chat. He tried to get me to do things or whatever, change things, and I'm like, no. And I don't know how many other people have tried to get me to change things, like I was saying. And it's like, if I have an idea that I want to stick to, I'm sticking to it. I know where I'm going in my comic universe a little bit. Am I willing to make changes? Yeah, look, I changed Insecto's design completely. I've done other changes within my universe too. Well, heck, when the script for the Canadian Shield was first written, the first one, he was supposed to follow train tracks, and he was supposed to stop a guy, get a guy that was stealing a tractor. Well, there are no train tracks up in that area where he first appears in modern day. So, although it's my universe, it made no sense, right? So, okay, I have to change that. And then, again, I thought on, okay, somebody's stealing a tractor up in the middle of nowhere because there's nowhere this guy can get away to. It makes no sense. So then I had to, again, change that. And I just thought, what it is. I believe God answered because I asked God, and then I got this idea about, this guy wanting to commit suicide. And then I found out years later that was a big problem up in these isolated communities, people wanting to commit suicide or killing themselves. So.
I
Mike's here.
understand what you're getting at.
Dropping
But
links to stuff.
what stupid changes they want for Canadian Shield? The Elk want for Canadian Shield.
Oh my God, there's a list.
He was trying to get. He suggested a character called the Perusian Shield or Prussian Shield, which was a country that existed around like World War II, and they existed before then too. But and making a Prussian Shield, which I have no problem with that. And
Wait, what?
And then he wanted him to be involved with the Canadian Shield somehow. And actually, I didn't want. Because he had some sort of history to Prussia, I think. I'm not sure.
I don't understand. This don't even make any sense. I don't understand what's the connection here.
Well, I didn't. Well, like I said, for him in real life, he had some sort of connection to Prussia. So
that doesn't make that doesn't. So why you gonna force that in somebody else's story? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, he didn't force. He was suggesting it at first, but there's other things that he tried to. I won't even say force, but really strongly suggest, shall we say?
But what else?
I can't remember everything, but there was like my Bible, my Insecto stuff that I was working on when I was working on Air on that. He was wanting me to have, like all the cooking school is in this building that's getting burned, when I just wanted no connection, with the cooking school that he's going to be attending to it. It's just a random building, well, sort of random building on fire, although it's supposed to be based in real life and all that. And then he was
why try to inject your own life into someone else's story? Why just write your own story? Like,
I don't know.
That doesn't make any sense. I don't even understand doing it.
Yeah, these are just some things off the top of my head that I can remember, and like,
Makes no sense.
and then he was, I have a series that I'm trying to slowly, lesser known Bible stories. He tried to interject on how I should do that, and it's like, if you think, I at
Mm,
one point said, if you think you can do it better and people like it better, you draw it and put it up and see what people like better between our two.
mm,
Now,
mm.
shortly after that, he said some things in the chat and he ended up getting banned from the channel. So he never did that.
Yeah, yeah, but like it's like yeah, but I'm like I gotta I gotta figure like but I'm just one thing I figure we'll figure out once I get the money. I'm probably just gonna start with the Doomfist graphic novel. That's gonna be like the origin story. And then I'll just make Goofanoid a flip book of Doomfist. That way, if people don't like Goofanoid, they don't have to read it.
Yeah. But like I said, he tried to edit me from the chat and I wasn't even asking him to edit me. Like I've asked Metal to edit me. A lot of people made suggestions in the chat. And he didn't
Mm.
get banned because he was trying to edit me. He got banned because he called me retarded because I didn't agree with him on something. And I wouldn't look up something when he wanted me to. And I warned
Dude,
him.
I can't stand it when people are like backseat streaming. Like that's just the worst.
But
Yeah, like he hadn't gained my confidence for editing me. Like, yeah, he was a nice guy in the chat up until then, and that was fine. And he had said a few things before that had started, putting my radar up, if you will. But Metal for editing. I went to him, and it through a whole lot of talks that we had off air, on air. He gained my trust.
Yeah, it also
Mm.
helps that I have actual like editing experience too.
Well, he said he did
there's
too.
ideas that
Sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but like I could show you the stuff I edited. Like I could prove it if I need to.
Yeah.
He's just like talking from the chat.
yeah, there's ideas that I've scrapped on my own accord. Like there's one concept for a character who is a prostitute who gets possessed by an angel who force her to slay evildoers.
Uh-huh.
The scrap that concept.
Sounds like it could be.
Like a scrap.
Go ahead.
But people want to bring that back. I'm like, I don't think I don't have any interest in do with that concept.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you got to do you got to do what pleases you in a thing. You can't go to everybody else's whim. Maybe you can take suggestions. You can listen to them, consider it, and then say yes or no. And if they don't like that you say no, well, there's the door.
Yeah, well, because like another thing too, it helps if you're already like in a group, like a trusted friend group or whatever. Like Rick, before I was doing editing for you, we already knew each other, but also we had all been helping each other with like Dillard's stuff and everything. Like you knew I was backstage with him and Mulrooney, and sometimes you were back there too. I think you helped maybe with some of the grammar stuff that one time.
Yeah.
But like you knew we were all already doing that stuff. So it's like, well, that's just another guy in the group who's doing the thing.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like some stranger who came out of nowhere who just wants to start editing you from the chat.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure whether he tried doing that right away or not, but it's still.
But the main thing I was getting bashed for is Goofanoid.
Yeah.
Like it's Goof is because the clown superhero the worst concept ever. Apparently, I just need to scrap that or just try to make it generic enough people can accept it. Or make him a side character because he just says a clown as a side.
Don't give in to them. Like I said, it took years for me to get Canadian Shield published. I know you probably don't want to wait years, You know, like I said,
I'm not going to have to wait years. That's the thing. I know that's necessary.
yeah, you know, like I said, I came up with this in my teens, and I'm 50 now. I was 40 in my mid 40s, late 40s, when I finally got it published. And you know, and I started gaining an actual audience. You know, it
Well,
takes,
I would say don't give in. Like, I don't think that's the best advice.
yeah,
I
well,
would say just don't give in so easily, right?
yeah, yeah,
Especially given the fact that like you have virtually no sample size of the people with these opinions,
yeah.
right? So it's like it kind of like changing the character now almost feels like throwing in the towel without fighting.
And I guess that's sort of what I mean by don't give
Yeah.
in. You know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, it's just,
Well, because it could turn out that after he does get to the point that you can get a good grasp of the product, like maybe there is a storyboard version or whatever, that and you get a better sample size, that there just really isn't anybody interested. And it doesn't mean you can't make it, but you might have to like back burner it forever, and it's just a passion project after you get something else, right? But you don't even know what the actual appeal of it is or not because the sample size is virtually nothing.
yeah. And you know what? I would say, yeah, you're getting people just to read a script. I know you're not the best artist. I'm not the best artist. And I've actually improved.
I mean,
I've improved over the last 5, 6 years, right? Metal and art.
Oh yeah, yeah. You should see some of the stuff that Rick was doing when like he was first streaming. Like it's like a night and day difference.
But my point is, you don't even have to do it every day or whatever. It's draw up a concept for yourself, and maybe even put it on Webtoons or wherever you will allow you to put it up, just for people to get a look. You know, on various whatever social media. You know, even make a video with each panel or whatever going through the story, what they're saying, do voices or whatever. Yeah, a lot of people aren't going to look at it first, and like I said, building the audience is hard. I'll say that.
That's the hardest part of anything.
Like I thought, I'd get on YouTube, and that I would get 1,000 subs easy. Well, here I am 6 years later, 7 years later, and I'm not at 1,000 subs yet.
You are still approaching. Like you're
Yeah, I'm building slowly.
probably doing better than you thought you would like 5 years ago.
Well, I thought it would be over 1,000 by now, but still, I'm not doing quite as good as I thought I'd be doing. But I'm still pushing away.
Bob, I want to ask, what you think is a harder concept to sell? Goofanoid because it's a clown superhero, or Tiger Man because of all the violence?
I think it's all in the execution. And
It's
getting
all in
it
the execution.
and getting it to the right audience, the marketing and the execution.
No. What you think is a harder concept to sell?
It's hard to say. Like I said, it all depends on.
Yeah, here's the thing. I think I could probably sell both of them about equal.
Yeah, as long
If I
as
actually sat down and I made a campaign for it, like I probably could sell either of them equally.
No.
Yeah, and like I said, it depends on the art, execution of them in the book and all that, and then it depends on the marketing. Like getting out there, getting people to know that you have a campaign, and this is part of the marketing, really saying the right words and all that to get people interested, even with the pictures. So
Speaking of doing voices over your comics, if I haven't plugged this in a while, if people want, they can go to the X Dynamis Chaos YouTube channel and they can watch this playlist of the first chapter where the voices the characters were based off of all voiced their characters. It's a fun little playlist.
and going over a bunch of Alpha's comments from like about 5-10 minutes ago, he said until it's published there's still wiggle room. And then he says about like Sunset's costume design, you adjusted that. Yeah, I adjusted her costume design a little bit more, even recently, based on Alpha's suggestion when we were in a chat together off air. Alpha says evolve.
I want to ask how I don't plan for this to be a major character, but how hard is the concept of Roachinator to sell?
Who?
That was the girl that turns into the roach, right?
Yes. Yes.
Honestly, of the things that you told me, that was the most the idea I was the most interested in. Out of anything you've ever told me you wanted to do, that was the one I thought like, this one's got legs. I think it could move.
Yeah, it would probably be slightly easier to execute and market for sure.
That one of all things.
Mm-hmm. It just sounds fun.
But again, it all depends on the execution of it too.
It is, right? Like I have an idea of it in my head based on what you told me, but it could also end up being completely different from how you execute it. So,
and like I said, as much as you're not the greatest artist, you should sit down and try and draw the panels out, the page and panels out yourself for now. You can get a better artist later to redo it. But if you have it done right and somebody can see something, like when I was redoing Canadian Shield 1, right, on my channel, and I was drawing it live to do the campaign for it, right? One, I knew my original one sucked and it needed to be redone drawing, but Dillard came along, and because he believed in me so much and all that, he took my drawings, what I had, and made it better through his ink.
Yeah, and he'll basically just quickly re-ink over everything.
Yeah, but there's a lot of stuff that he made way better. Like I look at my.
Oh no! I'm not saying he didn't. Like, there's some things where he just he took the idea that was underneath and even kind of just shifted everything from it. But
yeah,
I remember him doing that.
And and he did it for free at that point, which it was really nice of him, and I repaid him by putting the buckler on my campaign and producing that ash can. That was a 16-page ash can. Not really an ash can at that point, but a small black and white comic thing. And
I don't think the page count stops it from being an ash can. I think it's the print quality that stops it from being an ash can.
A bit of both, we'll say.
Yeah.
Because I did do.
Well, because I've seen ash cans that go up to 20, but every ash can I've ever seen that goes up to 20 pages was still printed at home or at one of those Xerox places or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And it's just
I have to go now. Dark.
Take it easy.
Okay, later, Fitzgerald.
That's fine.
Thanks for coming on.
Goodbye, Rick and Metal.
Anything you want to promote before you leave?
No.
Okay. Alpha says involved. I'm not sure what he meant by that. He was saying probably something about what I was saying. Probably about elk. I'm not sure whether I said involved or whatever. Very modern of him. I guess some of the ideas that I was saying elk put it.
Oh yeah, I could definitely see that.
And then he says, "Don't ban me, Cross." Oh no, you're not on the verge of. He was the first person I ever banned, as far as except for bots, of course.
Yeah, I guess. I unless somebody was banned before I showed up, I don't remember you ever banning anyone. Hey, there's Slimy. That's the guy who created the character that you drew.
Yeah, I got that. He says, "Hey, yo, who's this handsome lad?" Well, I believe it's your character. I was going to shade him and light him, but we got talking and all that. And then, like I said, Alpha made some sort of other emoji. I don't understand them all. But yeah. And, well, Elk, as I think some would know, was supposed to be gay. So he saw a lot of stuff through that lens. And all
yeah.
that. that how things were or whatever in the past, and it's like I don't think so.
I mean, he was definitely right about some things sometimes, but he was overshooting a lot, and it's like, you know, you can still make fun stories like that, but that lens was not appropriate for your stories at all. So that you wouldn't want that kind of like bleeding in.
Yeah. But I liked some of the conversations we had with him. They were good, like he wasn't an all bad guy. I can't say that in the least, and I'm not even trying to. It's just, when he started calling me retarded and stuff like that, it's like just because I disagreed with him, and I think I presented a good case for what I was talking about what I thought, and I'll admit I was maybe partially wrong because it was all about when the dark ages were, like I thought they were in the
Oh,
middle.
it was one of those arguments. Listen, me and my friends call each other retarded all the time, but we all know it's in good fun.
Yeah, well, I doubt it was in good fun with him, but
Yeah, I knowing Elk, I would agree with you on that. But you know who is a cool guy? Slimy. This is why everybody should go read Sprint, which I left in the chat earlier. And Firewood, his other comic. You could just find it on the same place.
Yeah. Yeah. Gonna try and waste the next 14 minutes. I want to stay on till 8 o'clock since I started at 6, But yeah, it was nice drawing this character. Like I said, hopefully Slimy might like the video and subscribe if he hasn't. No, I'm always up for.
Well, I told him I was selling the story earlier on, and but he'll have to like just like flash back to that like way later.
Yeah.
But then like a lot of the conversation that we did in between there, honestly, is probably not interesting enough that I would end up listening to it again. So if you want to see the drawing progress, personally, I'd probably mute it and then just watch that.
He says, "Oh God, I'm flattered, haha."
Yeah.
Like I said, I like trying to support indie. Well, I haven't said it today, but I like trying to support other independent people, and I think Metal knows that.
Oh yeah. I think almost anybody who's like an independent creator themselves wants to support other independent creators because we all know how it is.
Yeah. Because it's hard.
Fun. Like I was saying, you get the creator's vision. There's no middleman. It's not like somebody generations later putting their own thoughts on somebody else's vision. You just get what the creator wanted, and you often just get a fun experience that way.
Alpha says that's how you network.
He's been listening for a bit.
He says, I'm actually drawing right now, so I've been listening in for a bit. Oh, awesome. Well, if you're in, I'm presuming he's got Discord. But, you can always join the Discord, and as long as you can come on, try not to swear, you're more than welcome. Going off what Metal said, you're a real good guy, so you want to come on anytime and, just talk, maybe end up promoting some of your stuff. You know what? Here, what we'll do.
Yeah. I was about to say, like, oh man, we swear a lot in the back channels, but he has a day job where I'm absolutely sure that he's not allowed to swear during his day job. I'm not going to dox anything about him, so he could probably just go into day job mode and be perfectly fine.
Did that work? Okay. Yep, he said. He says, could be fun. I like the yap.
Oh, yeah. I've had him on a few times on my podcast on Newgrounds called Within the Underpass. And the first time we talked, it was just about him being an illustrator. But in between then, he had started working on his comic. So then the next time we did it, we actually broke down and started talking about the experience working on comics and stuff. And then he was also on for a indie comic roundtable I did with him and Phasmagore. Good conversations that people should listen to. But he's a very good conversationalist. I always enjoy talking with Slimy.
Let's see. Alpha says they say a lot of cuss words. It says I try to keep them in check, but they are wild. And then he says, probably. I'm not sure what that was about. The probably coming on.
I think that was probably going into work mode to not cuss.
Yeah. Because, the channel is supposed to be, we're trying to keep it somewhat family friendly and, and it is supposed to be faith-based. Well, my comics are, but, like, I know people swear in real life, so I'm realistic in that way. But, like I say, try not to, I've had Risey on here, so it excuse him. I'm not sure whether he knows who Risey is, but you definitely know who Risey.
Well, it's like, I think for the most part, I'm pretty good about it. Like, I'm sure once in a blue moon, I will let something slip. But then we'll have, like, somebody like Tim will come on, and he'll just say things like,
Tim will let it
left
slip
and right sometimes. Yeah.
Well, Tim doesn't even say it that much when he's on, but the odd time he slips.
No, you know who used to say it left and right was Larry. Larry used to just swear nonstop.
Yeah, and the really thing about me is, about that is one time, it was sort of brung up, and I wasn't saying anything to him directly or whatever, and then he said, "Oh, if I do that, like, correct me or whatever." And then the next time he comes on and does it, I correct him, try and get him to do it, and then he takes offense at it.
Yeah.
Well, you told me to.
I don't know, Dillard had actually gotten pretty good about it too. Where, like, if he gets emotional, the worst you might get out of him, which would still be past what you want, is maybe like a GDI, right? Directed specifically at you.
Alpha says, I don't. I guess swear and all that. You may get a dang or shoot out of me, but that's it. Yeah. But we try and have a good time here. Usually I'm drawing something. If somebody else is drawing too, and like I'm usually more than if they're showing it in Discord, I'm more than likely a lot will show what they're drawing as. So.
Man, I miss Dillard. I wish things would settle back down where he is, so we could see him on like streams and stuff again.
Yeah. Alpha says, I love Dillard's I learned it from you story about his kids saying cuss words. You know what? Not that you can say anything on air, but do you know a little bit more of what's going on there or not?
No, I haven't learned anything since the last time we talked about it. I just know that it's still kind of
going on.
Yeah, it's a little hectic over there. That's all I know about it.
That it's hectic. Okay, I don't even know anything about it myself.
And even then, like, it could have already calmed down, and maybe he's just taking a break, and I don't know, right? Like, after you learn one thing, you don't learn anything more until communication starts back up. So, like,
yeah, like, at Christmas, as you know, he came into his DMs for his group on Twitter and said Merry Christmas, and that was last time we heard from him, like over 2 months ago now. Yeah, Alpha says the cartel guy got taken out, so things are wild in Mexico. So Dillard may have a chance of escaping.
I know he's excited though to work on the follow-up to the Mighty Golden Patriot whenever that actually starts happening.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something I would like to see happen. I would actually buy the second one of that. I would like it.
The first one was good.
Yeah.
You know, like sometimes the art's good and maybe the storytelling leaves you wanting more, which has happened with a few things that I've backed. But that one, it's like everything was good. Like
Yeah.
even the storytelling was good. But he
Yeah.
did hire, what was it, Literature Devil, did a lot of the writing. So you have somebody who actually has like editing and critique experience in writing coming in and improving the storytelling. So like everything was good on all fronts.
Yeah. Which is, really good. Like I liked that, like I was impressed with it, like frankly I thought it was better than Cyberbrog. I thought it was better than Lone Star. I thought it was better than any of, if not all of the big
Yeah,
guys.
dude, I was so disappointed in Lone Star, right? Like the art's great. The story was kind of like eh.
Yeah. Although I'm not sure whether I think it was slightly better than Cyberfrog or not. I forget. But there's been a few other guys that created, like big names. Like the colorer that came out of DC. He did his own book. I bought it.
Mm-hmm.
It was all right, but I think he shoved too much into it, making it a team book, and also what's his name? Ripperverse.
I think
Ripperverse.
Yeah.
Like again.
Yeah, but I respect so much what's going on with the Ripperverse. Like a lot of it's not for me,
Yeah.
and a lot of it they're still working out the kinks. But he's doing really good stuff there.
Oh
as a
yeah,
whole.
and that I agree. But when I
Yeah.
read, his first book, I wasn't really all that impressed because
Oh yeah.
it starts in the middle of something. Like you've known this character for years, and to me,
Oh well, so that's gonna be preference, right? Like that's not doing it for you. I like in medias res. Like for the most part, I like being thrown into the middle of something like that
yeah, in some ways,
if you do it well.
yeah. And there's the thing.
And I think that's the problem there.
Yeah, I don't think he did it well. Like, but just because he didn't tell enough, I think, of the backstory for you to know much about the character. And I know it's multiple books, and maybe you got more in the second or third issue, or has it had a third issue?
Dude, I don't even think that was the problem. I don't think he told much of the story going forward. It kind of just meandered
Yeah.
for quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
I think the idea is fine, but honestly, it's not really was much of what I was interested in anyway, which is why I don't criticize it too much.
Yeah.
It's like I like that he's doing it. I don't know if
Yeah.
I would have been interested in that particular character, but he's doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
In the proper Ripperverse that I probably would be interested. I just haven't gotten around to any of it.
Yeah. And the thing is, like I only
Yeah.
quote unquote criticize, because I read it. I feel I have a right to, as somebody who paid for
Oh yeah,
it.
absolutely.
Paid for it, and hopefully if he ever heard my comments, maybe to improve it if he hasn't already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I think the impressive thing though with Mighty Golden Patriot is that I don't think maybe I don't know Literature Devil's personal life. I don't know how much like industry editing he's done, but as far as I know, I think like all the people involved were basically like non-industry professional self-taught people. Like I mean, Dillard had done other comics before that, but they were his own comics, right?
Yeah, or other
Or
people.
comics people paid him to do.
Yeah.
So it's no difference here, and they're basically all just like indie talents that kind of just did a better job than the people who came out of the industries.
Yeah. Let's see. Alpha said a couple minutes ago, maybe he is in full work mode, social media blackout. Oh, that's
Yeah.
about Dillard. He said, I like Truth, Justice, and the Mirror Way. That's the colorist guy. Yeah, like I said, I liked it. It was all right. It just felt like, again, you're thrown into the middle of this thing, and it's a team dynamic. It was just, I don't think there was enough there for it. Either it should have been longer, or I think he should have focused on not so many characters, because he had like 6 or 7 characters that he's trying to focus on to try and get you to like in like 60 pages. That's hard to do for characters you don't know.
I think that's also not necessarily the best goal. Like I don't know if the goal should be to completely sell somebody on a character. within that time. And I think maybe this is something that Western superhero comics have kind of like ruined people's perspective on, because they've pretty much already existed, and you have enough of the character to sell you on the character itself by the
Yeah.
time you jump into it, right? I think you just need to sell somebody on that story, right? And then like, what is that character doing? All stories should be character focused, right? Like the character should be driving it. But like, if that is a fun story on its own, you don't necessarily need the origin. You don't necessarily need to know every little thing about the character. You just need to get them expressing who they are through the story. And if you had fun there, you'll be far more likely to want to invest in that character in the future.
Yeah. And like and the other thing I think a lot of these guys need to do is add digital. Sure, it might prevent a few people from doing, physical, but I think they're shooting themselves in the foot, because, somebody like me, say if Cyberfrog 2, as much as it was or even the Truth Justice, if it was digital, I'm not sure whether he's done number 2 for it, like, I can't really afford to spend $80 on a comic with, shipping and all that, I do it every so often, for maybe a first one or whatever, but it's like, I would probably buy the digital if it was $5 or $10,
Yeah.
Well,
you're talking about shooting yourself in the foot too, where Alpha's like, we left the story with the same amount of info we went into it. I think 60 pages is a lot, right? For the fact that like you should be able to get somebody interested in 20, like a standard issue. Maybe even less, because people used to do that with even less. I feel like if somebody's not having enough fun and already interested in your story by about 16 to 20 pages, then you wasted 16 to 20 pages, right? And then to go 60, it's like I did 3 times the length that I needed to sell this character and I still have it. That's kind of a problem. That is like, again, the goal shouldn't inherently be to sell a character, but people do it in just 20 pages. Like they without even trying. Like 60 pages is a lot to not have properly gotten people interested in something.
yeah. Let's see. He said also the promo was basically an entire first volume. You don't learn much. Ripper's response was, I'm going to give away everything in the first issue, and I'm not going to start with a world-breaking event. Then there is nowhere to go. The response is different, is to a different issue. As we left the you read this one. We left the story with the same amount of info we had going in. And then let's see. Following the theater to video model is fine. First release the physical, and then a year or so later digital. Well, it's not even that nowadays. Digital is released practically at the same time. So.
Well, even if we want to go theater to video, it's not even a year after it was in theaters anymore.
Yeah, and then with what you just said, well, not about the theater to video, but the other stuff you were saying, Alpha agreed. Slimy says 60 pages is huge. That's around half.
It is.
Half GN right there. Graphic
Yeah,
novel.
half graphic novel. Yeah.
Well, that's what they're selling them as too. Graphic novels, so 60 pages.
60 pages isn't a graphic novel. That's a giant size or whatever, like if you're not to the point that it's like you could choose just square bound 60 pages, but you don't really need to square bound until you get like 100 or more. If you're not at the point that you're square binding it, that's not a graphic novel. If I could still staple your book, that's not a graphic novel. And because we need to use the word novel, right? So like in literature, a novel is something that's 50,000 words or more. There's an actual word count to it. We can't do that in comics because that's not how comics work. But we could give it a page count. Personally, I don't even really consider stuff until it's about the size of like a trade paperback or like a tankobon, right? And those can be up to like 200 pages. I would say if you want to call it like a graphic novelette or a graphic novella, maybe I'd be fine with that. It's still a little short to be a graphic novel.
Yeah. You know, like, but another good person that's been doing good work is Hero Shack. I've read all that stuff.
Yeah.
That Hero Shack stuff is good. His book, his Great Cyclopean, the stories are really good for that. And then, of course, his one that he just recently did, Darkness Dies, really good.
Yeah.
So,
And also for it to be a graphic novel, which this would apply if it was long enough, it needs to have been published in that form originally, right? Because a trade paperback, obviously, is just any book of that size that's published in paperback form. But we do use collected trade paperbacks as like a term as opposed to like an OGN. And so if something was done as individual issues, that's just a trade paperback. Eventually, I'm sure ISOM will be the size of a graphic novel. It'll just only ever be a collected trade.
yeah, I'm not sure when I'm gonna do the collected trade. I know. There's like the first. Well, I could call it an arc. 16, 18 issues for Canadian Shield, and that what I consider the arc is him getting from, way up north back to Hamilton. But I might break it up. Maybe I'll go with 8 and 8 because I think it's 16 and 16 where I think it's issue 16 where he gets back to Hamilton.
Yeah.
Alpha said, like I mentioned earlier, I started collecting in 2003 with Bendis Comics. The issues read like chapters. Ripa said he likes world building, so old comics may be different than what I am used to.
Actually, aside from the fact that he doesn't have as many word bubbles as a Bendis comic does, because we all know about the meme of the Bendis balloons, his storytelling is a lot closer to how Bendis does it than older comics, right? Because Bendis does very decompressed stories. Compare Ultimate Spider-Man, where it took him a year. Intentionally, he was trying to do it as a volume, but it took him a volume to retell the origin of Spider-Man, like basically what was done in the first issue. Older comics, it's like, no, dude, that would have been a waste of space. They would have sold you that character in 10 pages.
Yeah.
They would have done that 60-page story in 10 pages.
They would have done that 60-page story in 5 pages.
Oh yeah. Like we'll do it an order of magnitude. We'll drop off a 0. That all 60 pages. We'll do 10 pages per page down to 6.
Yeah, but if he really liked world building, there wasn't really a lot of world building
Yeah, like at all.
in ISOM, in my opinion.
And I'm fine with decompressed stories. I'm not
Yeah.
criticizing that part at all. Again, it depends how you want to do it. I'm just saying, like, that's a very, very decompressed story for a lot of people to come back not being sold on the story.
Yeah. Alpha says, I'm just used to issues being part of a volumes by design. Yeah, where like he said he got into reading comics there. Like, I'm not sure when they started doing comics as volumes like that, but like when I started reading them, they weren't really like that. They didn't do that. They weren't putting them into these volumes or graphic novels, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, I mean, it depends.
Collecting trade paperbacks.
I think by the 80s, there were a lot of comics that people were already envisioning to be done as a volume or like a season. They were almost seeing it like a season of a show, right? Where like this year is going to be the season. And then we started collecting those volumes. One of the big examples, you can see how the New Teen Titans was written, which each year was like a story arc for the New Teen Titans. You'd still get like some episodic stuff in it, but there was like an overlying arc that like it would lead to the Trigon conclusion and stuff like that.
Oh, actually, I have to correct myself. I know they were around at least in the 90s because I remember getting the Death of Superman one.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't able to get some of the. Well, I wasn't able to get, like some of the issues of the regular Death of Superman, so there was a collective volume of that, and I bought that. I don't know whatever happened to it. I lost it somewhere somehow. Rats.
Yeah. But like talk about efficient use of space, right? Because we have Slimy's character just right up there, right? So we can talk about that. Slimy made the first sprint story in 15 pages because that was the limitation that he was given, right? And oh my god, I lost the YouTube chat. But yeah, he had 15 pages to work with, and there's some bias. Like obviously you like your friend's stuff, but a lot of people have come back saying that the 15 pages was enough to tell the story. Like you get everything you need to know from these characters,
Yeah.
like their personalities, their dynamic and stuff in just 15 pages.
Yeah, it forces you to write better or whatever. Sometimes sloppy too, but if you've already started writing, like I'm like when I'm doing the whatchamacallit, my issues, like I've got 20 to 22 pages usually, maybe 24 max. But when I was originally doing them, I was trying to do them in 22 pages. And so it was, you know, you got to learn to write in that number of pages, whatever you want to do,
That's why I always tell people to work on shorts first before they go to longer stuff. Because everybody's like, this is the epic story I want to tell, right? It's like, you don't even know if you know how to tell an epic story yet. And you also don't know if people are interested in it. But if you can work with a short, which to me a short is basically that's 10 pages or under, right? Like once you get to around 12 pages, 10 to 12, you're in that ashcan size. But 10 or under, I think easily you just call it a comic short. If you can work in 1 page, you work in 2 pages, work in 4, work in 8, whatever, you learn pacing and you can learn how to work a bigger story up to 16, up to 20, up to 32, whatever. Like you can start scaling up, and you can also start gauging more interest in the thing you're working in.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of what I've been doing lately, trying to write Ashcan for my various characters. Actually, I gotta finish the Flames one. I gotta go back to I think Snowdrift 5 and rewrite a bit of that because I can't find it.
Yeah. Like for On Tour with Mitch and Sandy, which I still need to go back to working on Chapter 1 of Volume 1. But when I first started doing anything with them, I decided I was just going to limit myself to writing some 8-page stories. Like, this is a short that will fit exactly in 8 pages. And I had to figure out, how do I want to cut this up? How do I want to pace this so that it fits in 8 pages? And that's a challenge when you're learning to do that,
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and I am really starting to like global comics. Somebody bought somebody else bought Snowdrift, the PDF. I think the PDF.
Oh, nice.
Anyways, they spent $2, so. And so now I'm up to 3 and change for making money, almost $4.
Yeah.
And I've only got 16 followers. Let's see how much analytics revenue. $3.92 I've made so far.
Oh, making bank.
Although nobody's bought the Canadian Shield stuff yet, but
You gotta let them get into it. Maybe they'll like Snowdrift and be like, well, I want to check out this other guy now since they're in the same world or whatever. You gotta give them time to process, yeah. Rick.
Yeah, I know. Pages read 14 on.
Not everything could just be a smash hit out the gates like the bodacious bikini battle babes of Brutus Bay.
Say that 10 times fast.
I think I did once. Just once.
So anyways, let's see. nothing else is being said in the chat. We are a little overtime, which is all right. But
Yep.
you know,
I'm gonna drop Slimy's global comic in here one more time for people.
Yeah, I was about to say
This
anything.
leads directly to his page, so you can find all of his stuff, including Firewood, there too.
I was about to say anything you want to promote, and well, you can promote. Obviously, you just promoted that, but you can promote something else of yourself too if you want. And Alpha says,
You know what? I will. I'll go to my own website and I will drop the direct link to the Bodacious Bikini Battle Babes of British Bay because that's an amazing story.
Alpha says, "What a name! So many bees. It's got him totally
I'll tell you. That's exactly why I started making the story in the first place. I had the idea of the words Bodacious Bikini Battle Babes, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do a story on this, how long can I string together this and it still be an okay title?
Slimy says,
I even chose the location based purely on that too.
Slimy says, bodacious indeed. And then he says, Firewood do got swears in it, though. Laugh out loud.
Yeah, I wouldn't say frequent, but there are swears in there. It's like little kids, saying things that like late 90s, early aughts kids would say.
Yeah. But, I watch some movies with swears in it, so I guess I can get through a comic with some swears in it.
Yeah.
Oh, cats, it's here. It says, hi, everyone. Just as we're about to be ending. Alpha says, I'll just call it B6.
That's fair. I have a friend who calls it 6Bs, so it's like whichever one. It works the same.
I think 6Bs sounds better. Although that could have another entendre.
Maybe. I don't know. I think with some of these girls, they're not the hugest, but I don't think the letter B would be the appropriate letter to define them.
Well,
probably closer to like D's and F's.
Well, I'm not talking their chest size. I'm talking a different word. A female dog?
I don't know if that's where most people's brains would go, but maybe.
Well, I guess maybe it's because of where I'm from, but for shorthand lingo for those type of women is bees.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So that's what
there's a lot of things,
6 bees.
What if it was just like 6 little bumblebees flying around,
Yeah. But when it's supposed to be referring to women, I guess I just automatically go there for 6 bees. Anyways.
Well, Patty is Irish, though, so she probably says some things that you might consider a swear, but don't worry. It's like local Irish slang, so you probably don't even understand that what she said was a swear.
We have Taco Sauce here. Hello, Taco Sauce. He says, bo, 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 bo. I probably added too many bows there.
Oh, I love bo, 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 bo. That's a great series.
And he says, kind of a title, laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And Alpha did put 6 bees in the chat. And not the insect, not the letter.
Yeah.
But anyways, thanks everybody for coming by. Been great having you here. Thanks Metal for coming on, chatting. Thanks to Fitzjoso coming on and chatting too. It was good chatting with both of you. Thanks for everybody in the chat. Was it? Yes, it was. Thanks for everybody in the chat for coming by and chatting. It was good having you all here and talking. And it was good to do another indie character. We will next Wednesday, of course, be doing probably another indie character. Or a public.
You should do Patty.
Well, send me the reference, and you know what? Put it after if you can remember.
I will.
Afterwards,
I'm gonna go into the comics immediately after this finalizes, and I'm gonna tell you to draw Patty the War Witch from Bodacious Bikini Battle Babes of Bridges Bay.
okay. I will do that then, and then of course tomorrow night we have the silhouette game. Can you guess the right silhouette? We are going to be dealing with, I think I said 90s video games again. So, do your research a little and find out what ones we did last time, because we're not doing those characters again. It could be characters from the same game, but yeah. Just hopefully come by and try and get yourself some points, and you can renew if you want to know what you can get those points in for. You can come by and ask that too, as well. So hopefully we'll see you tomorrow night on the silhouette game. So bye for now. God bless. Have a great and wonderful day.